it's Ileana, and today I'm going to be discussing the connection between Tharsis Montes, Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1, and Mars weapons testing facilities. So recently I had been watching Cosmic Disclosure, Season 13, Episode 8, where there was a remote viewing done of Mars, specifically the Tharsis Montes area. And that area has a lot of scarring near it from past weapons, laser beam weapons, targeting that almost destroyed half of Mars when Maldek exploded and Mars's atmosphere was almost stripped. So the laser beam plasma weaponry that was imploding on Maldek affected Mars because Maldek was a bigger planet near Mars. So Mars was a smaller planet. And when Maldek exploded, that changed Mars's orbit and it came somewhat closer to Earth. And again, it did scar Mars, the laser beam plasma weaponry. It scarred Mars, especially near the Tharsis Montes area. And so this is where the Mars Weapons Testing Facility 1 and Mars Weapons Testing Facility 2 are. They're near the Tharsis Montes. And when I was watching the episode of Cosmic Disclosure, and the person was talking about Tharsis Montes, I thought to myself, that looks familiar and sounds familiar. That's where Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1 is, near that location. And I thought to myself, wait a second, so are the Mars weapons testing facilities. And there was a map on the show, and when I looked at the map, I'm like, those three things are in the vicinity of Tharsis Montes. So I thought I would go back into my old memory recall and hypnosis material and the mapping locations that I had done of the Planetary Corporation's bases and other facilities. And I had done this remote viewing as well in September 2016. And so when I compared this stuff, it's like it's all in the same vicinities. It's all near each other. And that's not a coincidence because a lot of my mapping stuff comes from my memory recalls and hypnosis of where I served as a secret space program asset on Planetary Corporations. I know where all the 11 bases are and the weapons testing facilities, the ones that are active and inactive. And today I'm specifically going to talk about Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1 and the Mars weapons testing facilities, where those are. And I'll mention a few other bases and what's on them. So this is the most recent map that I did to compare where Tharsis Montes is and where the Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1 is. So it has the searchable Google Mars location for PLC Mars Base 1, which is standing for Planetary Corporations. And the coordinates are 859, 31.52 south, 115, 40, 29.16 west. So the Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1 is in the vicinity of Tharsis Montes. They're in close vicinity to each other. And this is what looked so familiar to me when I was watching Cosmic Disclosure, Season 13, Episode 8. And that episode came out May 25th, 2021. And these maps, the maps that I had originally remote viewed from the memory recall as well as the hypnosis, This stuff I had done in September 16th, 2016. This is when I started looking into doing hypnosis, self-hypnosis more, and accessing memory recalls. And this is where the mapped locations are from. But I did update the maps recently because I'm specifically focusing on Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1 today, what is near Tharsis Montes, and the Mars Weapons Testing Facilities 1 and 2, what's within this vicinity. I'm also going to be discussing a few other PLC bases and what's there, and I'm starting from Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1. Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1 is the facility that has the cybernetics labs attached to it underground, where the Neuralink implants and biological human cyborgs are created. As well, there are 2 weapons testing facilities not too far away from Tharsis Montes. So this map shows where the Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1 is in relation to the Mars Weapons Facility 1, which has the searchable Google Mars coordinates for 15, 21, 00.38 south, 108, 23, 05.56 west. And also it shows where Tharsis Montes is. So all 3 of these locations are close together. They're not far apart in distance between Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1, Mars Weapons Facility 1, and Tharsis Montes itself. So I don't think it's a coincidence what this mapping shows from my recall memories and what was remote viewed in Cosmic Disclosure. What came out is that there's some kind of a shaft tunnel system going down underground near Tharsis Montes, and I know that this whole area is a weapons facility testing range. It has several weapons facilities there, which I'm going to discuss in relation to that tunnel shaft and what's there, what was there near Tharsis Montes, because I know these locations pretty well. This is the Mars Weapons Facility 2, and its searchable coordinates are 29, 26, 41, 26 north, 106, 28, 04, 05 west. And it is sort of on the other side of Tharsis Montes. So this facility is towards the top and Tharsis Montes is towards the bottom, but it's still within the vicinity, so it's not too far from each other. And the locations are important to look at when you compare the vicinities. They're still within range and also being close to Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1. This is a closer look of what Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1 is in relative location to the Tharsis Montes area, where the weapons testing facilities are. So they're not too far apart from each other. They're fairly close, and everything is within close proximity to each other. So, and that's important when you look at coordinates for Planetary Corporation's Mars bases in relativity to the weapons facilities and other underground locations like that shaft tunnel system. So all of this is close together, and that's what makes it important as evidence, because these things are close together. And again, all of this came from my memory recalls and hypnosis. And I had done this mapping in September 16th, 2020. So it was done way before the Cosmic Disclosure Season 13, Episode 8 came out. That came out on May 25th, 2021. And I have been talking about these mapping locations for quite a while, since 2017. I've been talking about them publicly, and 2020 as well. And I've even shown how to search the coordinates in Google Earth, how to search the Google Mars coordinates. So that's important to keep in mind. So this is what the Mars Weapons Testing Facility 1 looks like. And you can see the scarred terrain where this facility was built. And the scarred terrain is from the previous plasma laser beam weapons fire that happened about 650,000 years ago, when the Maldakians destroyed their planet Maldak. And then it took Mars off orbit as a result, and the weapons scarred the terrain on Mars, the land, and almost stripped all of Mars's atmosphere. So it's quite interesting that planetary corporations would put one of its weapons facilities right in this area, because it's already scarred and arid, and there's not much going on here. So that's why they put the facility there, because the land is already, there's damage that's happened to the land. So it doesn't make sense for them to test weapons elsewhere, because this place has scorched land, and their weapons facilities, they don't leave behind scar marks on the surface of a planet. Planetary Corp weapons, like plasma weapons, when they're tested, they don't leave evidence behind. So that's important to see. But they didn't want to put a facility anywhere else, because this is obviously where something else had happened already. So it made sense to do the weapons in that testing range. This is an old Thoron particle beam weapons facility that had been underground. And that's what the person on Cosmic Disclosure in that episode saw, the remains of that. And this is the Mars Weapons Testing Facility 1. This is what the facility looked like when it was complete and not decommissioned. So it had biodomed buildings with this huge tunnel system shaft going up from the facilities where the Thoron particle beam weapons would be tested, in that large tunnel shaft, going up towards sort of the surface and kind of still being underground. The key thing, all of this stuff was underground. It wasn't on the surface of the planet, it was always underground. All these facilities and much of the bases that Planetary Corp has on Mars is all underground facilities, or it's in craters or around craters. And all the bases and facilities are shielded by electromagnetic domes. The domes basically protect the structures themselves, the bases, the testing facilities. It's all protected by the electromagnetic shielding. So the bases are also cloaked, because this electromagnetic shielding, that is the dome itself, it allows to cloak the facilities, and it protects them from being hit by asteroids, by space junk, etc. So everything is domed with the electromagnetic shielding around all the Mars facilities. This is what Planetary Corporations does to protect its bases, colonies, and facilities, especially for testing things like Thoron particle beam weapons. So this is the Mars Weapons Testing Facility 2. And again, you can see scarring on the surface where this facility is at. And that's what was the result of the Meldakian plasma laser beam explosions that reached Mars. And this is a closer look at that facility, the second weapons testing facility. The areas around Tharsis Montes, Syria Planum, and Sarananus Fossae have the Mars Weapons Facility 1 and 2, and these are the newer facilities, so they're not decommissioned, they're active. The Thoron Particle Beam facility, that's a decommissioned facility, and it was taken apart. The only thing that was left over was the shaft system. So the Mars Weapons Facility 1 and 2, which comprise a whole testing range for particle beam weapons. So these are the newest two facilities, and they're on a whole testing range. So it's huge. Near Tharsis Montes, there is an old shaft system that was part of a Thoron particle beam weapons facility that had been underground. This Thoron particle beam weapons facility was decommissioned about 65 years ago, and it was taken apart. All that's left of it is the shaft tunnel system going up underground, sort of peeking up on top of the surface slightly. So that's what that is. All this map information about where the Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1 is and what the weapons facilities were or are come from the Planetary Corporation's Mars Base holographic databases. Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1 is the facility that has the cybernetics labs attached to it underground, where the Neuralink implants and the biological human cyborgs are created. As well, there are two weapons testing facilities not too far away from Tharsis Montes. From what comes in my memory, in my recall memories and the hypnosis sessions, the other facilities for the PLC Mars Bases 5, 6, and 8 manufacture the holographic medical pods, Meditech units, regeneration tanks, memory engram stations, and the smart suits. Planetary Corporation's experiments with creating the human ET hybrids with genetic splicing in the PLC Mars Base 10, and the zombie viruses are also experimented on in that base. And here are the searchable Google Mars coordinates for Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1, 859.31.52 south, 115.40, 29.16 west. Mars Weapons Testing Facility 1, 15.21.00.38 south, 108.23.05.56 west. And the Mars Weapons Testing Facility 2 is at the following coordinates: 29.26, 41.26 north, 106.28.04.05 west. So this is the newest information that I have in regards to the first Planetary Corporation's Mars Base 1, where I had been stationed when I was an SSP asset, and then I went to the other bases, and I was able to recall all the coordinates. So, and I've talked about these mappings before and shown the presentation, so this is not my first presentation on this topic. This is a follow-up, so thank you so much.